everybody. Welcome back to the Between the Ears show. I'm Skylar Callahan, and join with me today. I've got a co-host today, and that's because he was a man of his word and made sure to come on the show today. That is my co-host for the Walkthrough Game Day show, Eugene Napoleon. Gene, we had so little time to talk about a lot with Neal Brown on Saturday night. After the West Virginia game, they lose to Kansas 55-42 in overtime. Today is solely dedicated to Neal Brown and the state of this football program. Neal Brown is 17-20 through 37 games, Eugene, and this is year 4. You lose to Kansas. I don't know where to go from here. I don't know where Neal Brown goes from here in terms of keeping the confidence within that building and within that administration, because things don't look too good right now. Gene, if you are athletic director Shane Lyons, Are you to the point where you're really thinking about firing this man? And if so, when would you do that? Would you do that in season and pay him the $20 million? Would you wait till after the season and wait for it to drop a couple $1 million? Or, I mean, does it even matter at this point?
Let me say this. Let me start off by saying this. The thing that I love about our fine university that separates us from many other universities is the fact that we've never fired a coach midseason. And for many reasons, I've always been an advocate of that because I believe that you finish what you start. Again, I'm old school when it comes to that kind of stuff. So with that being said, yeah, where we are, we're 0-2. Okay. Did we expect to be 0-2 at this point in the season? No, we did not. Okay. There's a lot of money on the line when you're talking about the business practices of what happens with major college sports. Okay, we know that as well. If I'm Shane Lyons, it's a thin line between being complicit and being accepting of a mediocre program when we don't come from a mediocre background. So right now, to go into year 4 and you're 0-2, you have to, as the AD, your responsibility, your sole responsibility of the athletic programs, you want them to win. You want the student athletes to graduate. You want them to have a good experience along the way. And you want them to understand you're building life skills through your chosen sport. In this case, we're talking football, right? So you have a good leader in Neal Brown as a man. Right now, apples to apples, oranges to oranges, wins and losses don't compare. Going into year 4, you're 0-2 going into year 4. Unfortunately, we're not paying you to be 0-2 going into year 4. The trajectory of where we are is not what we're paying you for. So if I'm Shane Lyons, yeah, it's a tough decision because Neal is a good man. And Neal has changed our program from what it was, from a culture, you kind of dialed it back a little bit to where we are respected again as a program. Okay, he did that in 4 years, 3.5, 4 years. The problem is people they've forgotten what West Virginia was.
Yeah.
Now I'm hearing these comments, oh, well, you know, we're not that level. What do you mean we're not that level? I dare to think you go back to Nealon's years, the undefeated years, he rolled in 2 of those, all right? 88 and 93, 2 undefeated seasons under his belt. Then if you go on the rich ride, like it or don't like it, successful program, trajectory, again, like it or don't like it, you go into Bill Stewart. Come on, man. Come on, man. Trajectory. Then you go into Dana. Like it or don't like it, we didn't win as much as we wanted to under Dana, but his years compared to Neal's years, Dana was more successful. Okay? And then you have Neal Brown. So when I say compare, it's apples to apples, oranges to oranges. On that scale, if you look at it through that lens, you would have to say Neal Brown, unfortunately, has found himself on the hot seat when it comes to wins versus losses. That's a hard decision to make. I would not make that decision mid-season. No, I would not. As an AD, No, I would not. I would wait until the season's over, as painful as that may be. And we would have to sit down and we would have to go through year by year, win and loss by win and loss, and then come up with a game plan as to how that looks to him as the head coach. Are you happy with where you are after year 4?
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of people would agree in that you probably can't. Well, I wouldn't say you can't fire the guy mid-season, but it's probably not the best thing to do. Now, I will say this: would a loss to Towson, as unlikely as that is, would that change your perspective?
I'm looking to my right on that. Say it again. One more time. Would a loss to who?
Towson.
What? Come on, man. Don't listen. Don't even.
Hey, I mean, we didn't think a loss to Kansas. Well, I mean, I guess we kind of thought there was a chance, but
listen. No, we didn't. No, I didn't. Let me go on record right now. No, I did not. No, sir.
So, I mean, if you think about it, you lose to Towson, you're 1-3 or 0-3, actually.
Scholar, if they lose to Towson, that will probably be the first time in West Virginia's history at any sport that they would probably usher the staff out of there. There is no.
There's no way that staff would make it to Sunday. In my
I'm gonna tell you right now, never say never, but that's a close never.
Right. So I mean,
I don't even think that
the pressure for not only Neal but this staff is mounting, and I mean, I just don't even. I'm almost at a loss for words because of how bad this start has been. But in a way, you look at it, and they're a couple plays away from beating Pitt. You know, you don't drop the pass. You know, you maybe go for it on that 4th down. You maybe win that game. Kansas game, you don't throw the pick in overtime, or you know, a couple of other things don't happen. You don't drop the punt. Maybe you win that game. But it's always, to me, it's not they're 2 or 3 or 4 plays away from being 2-0. It's the fact that those plays continue to happen and prevent them from winning games. And when that's happening in year 4, that's a problem. If that's happening in 1 year, year 1, 2, or 3, maybe you give it a little bit of a pass. But year 4, it's time to get rid of the excuses. And I don't know about Eugene. I don't know about the fan base. But if I'm a fan, I'm sitting here thinking, I don't want to hear this stuff from Neal Brown about, you know, how he gets it, how he understands the frustration of the fan base, and how he has to apologize to the fan base every week. It's enough of that. Like, again, that's the first 3 years kind of stuff. It's not time for that now. It's time to produce results. And if you don't produce results, you're probably going to be looking for another job. And West Virginia's going to be looking for a new head coach. So, right. Gene, this is what Neal Brown, he met with the media on Tuesday afternoon, discussing the rough start, talked about why things are going wrong. Let's listen into what he had to say.
Losing stinks. So, you know, I don't think there's anything earth-shattering about that. When you invest time and energy into something and it doesn't go the way you want it to go, it's hard. And I'm frustrated. I'm disappointed. You can probably sense that Saturday night. And that same disappointment, that same frustration is with staff and players as well. And I get the fans' frustrations. You know, I think back to both of my parents are teachers. We had season tickets at the University of Kentucky in the upper deck, and Kentucky wasn't winning a whole lot. They've changed fortunes since then, but they weren't winning a whole lot then. And I can remember a lot of rides home in an old beat-up van with my uncle and some of their friends, and them bitching about how they played and being frustrated because they spent money on tickets and concessions and all those type of things that didn't go the way they wanted them to go. And so I don't need to be explained that. I live that, and so I get it. And nobody feels that frustration more than inside this building. But I think the thing that's got to be understood, there's only one way to get it fixed. And there's only one group of people that are going to fix it. The only people that are going to fix it are inside this building. And the only way it gets fixed is through work. Nobody feels sorry for us. We don't feel sorry for ourselves. We're not throwing in the towel. We're going back to work. And it's about learning from your failures. All right, why are we sitting here 0-2? Well, I think, and Mike asked this question on Saturday night and going back and thinking about it, I think there's two primary reasons, and there's a lot of underlying things, or there's three primary reasons, and there's some underlying things. The first one is we're 27, and it's 27-0 points off turnovers. Other teams got 27, we got none. All right, we created one takeaway, and we turned the ball over 4 times. We've had inopportune penalties, and we missed opportunities. And when I say missed opportunities, there was 3 fumbles that were on the ground on Saturday night. We didn't get them. We dropped passes in the pit game. And so those we got to learn from those failures. We got to clean up the inopportune penalties. We got to get some takeaways. We can't turn the football over. And we got to take advantage of opportunities when they arise. And then you got to focus on the future. And what does that look like? Well, we got to sustain what we've done well. Because there's certain things we've done well. We've ran the ball well. We've played pretty well offensively through 2 games. Our special teams, outside of kickoff return, have really been a strength of the football team so far. And then we got to fix our issues. Whatever been our issues? We got to tackle better. We got to get it lined up with more sense of urgency. We've got to do some things better defensively. I think that's very clear after Saturday night. But it's about next, and next is Towson. And that's the mentality here. We're not dwelling on it. We're very aware of where we're at. And it's about getting it fixed. And that's the work ethic and the mindset that we've got in here.
All right, so there it is. That is a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Because there is a lot to chew on with that.
There is a lot to unpack with those couple of minutes from Neal Brown on Tuesday's press conference. And Gene, I'm just going to be honest with you. Like, a lot of those things that he was rambling off, the turnovers, not getting lined up. I mean, a lot of those things, to me, fall under one umbrella. And what's that? Coaching. How is these fundamental things still seeping into year 4? To me, I think that's all coaching. And to be honest with you, and I hate to be this brutally honest, but he almost kind of called himself out.
I had to put my glasses on to make sure that we're seeing this thing clearly. Because as you just said, there's a lot to unpack. No, unfortunately, he was calling himself out. Let me share this with you, right? And this is no surprise. Does players put themselves on the field? No. Does players call the plays offensively, defensively, and special teams? No. Does players take themselves in and out of games? No. Okay. All of that are coaching decisions, correct? So if a player is not executing, then who do you basically look at and say there has to be a change? The coaching staff.
Right. So
that means you have to evaluate those players, those miscues, and clean them up, as he said, his own verbiage. The definition of insanity, I believe, is if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, but you expect a different result, right?
Yeah.
That's a smart man. He's a smart man. If that's the case, we're in year 4. This is fundamental football we're talking about, and we're making the same mistakes that we've been making.
How many conversations have we had about this stuff over the last 4 years or 3 years and some change? It seems like we have had this talk, I don't know how many times on the game day show, on between years, just you and me on the phone on a random Tuesday. Like, I feel like we have these conversations all the time. And to me, it's all about coaching. It's about putting the guys in position to succeed. And later on in the press conference, he said something about how they're going to look at some personnel changes and stuff like that. And they're not getting the play that they want out of the cornerbacks and the tackles, or the tackling hasn't been there. Again, if you don't know who can tackle and who can't, or who can play a corner and who can't, or which defensive lineman can get off blocks, which linebackers are playing in the right spots. He even talked about the linebackers, maybe some of them are playing in the wrong spots. I mean, that's concerning.
Listen, it's concerning. Also, when you get in situations where, again, you have to make tough calls, and this is why, and this is what, why these coaches are paid what they're paid. It's to make those tough calls in crucial points and crucial parts of the game. So, yeah, I'm going to go back to that 4th and 1 at Pitt because that was a crucial call. Did you watch the Seattle game last night?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did you see on 4th and freaking inches? They didn't get it, but this is what they pay you for. They went for it.
Yeah.
Smith didn't slip. Maybe he would have gotten the inch. But the point is, they went for it. They didn't go for 3. They could have kicked the field. They went for the whole enchilada. That's what they pay you for. So when Coach Brown says, these things, we have to clean these things up. Yeah, you have to clean these things up. But when you're in that position, you also have to make the call.
Yeah. And I think it's time for, and I think I could speak probably for a lot of people with this. When Neal comes on these Tuesday press conferences, or even after the game on Saturday, and he sits here and talks about how they need to do this, they can't do that, they've got to be better here, they got to be better there. We just got to fix this, we got to fix that. It's time to put some action behind those words. We've heard those words for 4 years. We're missing tackles. We're not executing. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. At some point, if there's no action behind those words, you're not going to see any progress. You're not going to win games, and you're going to get fired. Like, I hate to be that brutally honest, but that's just the world we live in. You have to show progress. It's a business, or it's a results-oriented business. And right now, Neal Brown has not produced results.
How many coaches would dare to do this in their contract? Start deducting from my pay with each loss.
Yeah.
Let me give back some money if I'm not putting a good product on the field. And let's make this percentage based. So if it's midway through the season and we're not performing up to par, should I give back 10% of my salary, 20% of my salary? If we don't make a bowl game, you understand what I'm saying to you? In other words, it's psychobabble what I'm saying, but in other words, because if it was based on that scale, the rationale or maybe the urgency would be a little bit different.
Yeah.
Just saying.
We'll leave with this. Do you think that there's anything that Neal Brown can do that can get him off this hot seat? I know Shane Lyons hasn't come out and said that he's on hot seat or anything. He did put out a statement the other day and said that he's unhappy with how things are going and stuff. I like everybody is. Nothing too much to read into that. But do you think there is enough that he can do, and from what you have seen from this team in 2 games, that he can turn this around? Because I'm telling you what, this is a tough schedule. You got Virginia Tech after Towson, you got Texas and Baylor. Yep. There's a good chance that they go 1-5 in the first 6 games of the season. Can he save his job?
Tell you something. If you're 1-5, I'm gonna be honest with you. I like Neal Brown. You understand? At the end of 6 games, if we're 1-5, that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
That's not acceptable in Pop Warner. That's not acceptable in middle school. That wouldn't be acceptable in high school. It damn sure isn't acceptable with a program like ours. And I'm not going to sit here and go back to being freaking that whole, like I said, it's we don't deserve to be where we are, because that program was built a certain way and it was going in a certain trajectory. You understand? Don't give me this bull crap about we can't recruit and all that nonsense. I don't want to hear any of that. It's not good enough to be competitive. We're better than a competitive school. I don't care what anybody say. I played there. I know what that, and I heard somebody say this, or I read it somewhere. I think my wife read it somewhere as well. All the Neal and holdovers, basically, who are from that era, basically get over yourselves. We're no longer that type of program. The hell we not? What you mean? That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's freaking mediocre. No, that's not what this is. So no, he has to win, and he has to start winning now. Point blank, period. I like Neal as a person, but you're not getting paid that kind of money to be liked as a person. You have to go out and win football games. And if we're 1-5 after 6 or 7 weeks of the season, woo, that's going to be a problem, my guy.
It definitely is. And it could happen. I mean, to me, I've always said, why is Kansas State successful? Why is Wake Forest successful?
Right.
Why, are some of these teams that you could probably put in the same group as West Virginia, yeah, they're not Alabama. They're not Ohio State. I get that. But neither is Kansas State and Wake Forest, but they've been having winning seasons. They're competitive
Absolutely.
in their own respective leagues. Why is West Virginia looked at as they can't be a top 3 or 4 team in the Big 12 conference? Kansas State can do it, and they have the same exact situation. They're not reeling in 4- and 5-star recruits. Neither is West Virginia. It comes down to coaching. If you don't get the best out of your players, that's it. So,
and you're right, and that's period. I'm gonna leave it here, like you just said. It always comes down to coaching. Just like in business, it comes down to what? The bottom line. Yeah. I don't care what business you're in. It comes down to the bottom line. I don't care what level you're coaching on. It comes down to coaching.
It does. Coaching, development, everything. Buying factor. There's a lot that goes into it, but definitely coaching is the biggest one of them. And I think if you have a good coach, you could go to whole new levels and heights that you never thought of. So
what is Kansas record?
What's that?
What is Kansas record right now?
2-0.
Okay, thank
you. And they beat Missouri last week. I know Missouri's not that good, but just think about that. Chris Kleiman was hired the same year as Neal Brown. That program's gone like this, and they're a potential Big 12 championship contender this year. West Virginia just lost.
Listen, you see me slowly leaning back.
Yep. That's all we got to say. So that's it, Gene. That's going to do it for for today's episode of Between the Ears. Eugene joining me. We'll be back on Thursday to preview. Yes, we're going to preview it, the Towson game. And we'll be back on Saturday after the game for the Mountaineers Now post-game show. You can follow us on Twitter at Mountaineers Now. You can follow Eugene at Napoleon_Eugene, myself at Callan_. And be sure to hit that subscribe button here on our YouTube channel at Mountaineers Now. So until Thursday, take care.